The celebration of the first Sunday of Lent for us in our parish community also coincides with the beginning of our Stewardship Renewal campaign. And actually that's somewhat providential because both of those things have something of self-reflection and awareness and a direction that God may be calling us to. And so as we look at those things, the important part of that renewal, whether it's through the season of Lent or whether it's through our own stewardship renewal, and those packets should have gone out in the mail this week, so you may have received them if you're a registered parishioner. If not, we've got some extra copies in the back. But that process depends upon something that's both in the first reading and in the second reading. It's a very important concept in the relationship of how we relate to God. In the first reading, we understand that God is the creator. So everything that we have, everything that we are, everything that he's called us to, all of that comes from him. He is the one who has given us everything, right? Everything belongs to him. Everything comes from him. He's given that to us. And in the second reading, we hear that specifically the gift of salvation, the gift of new life, the one righteous act of Jesus Christ for us that brings acquittal and salvation, righteousness and justification, that comes to us as a gift as well. And so we find our foundation in gratitude to what God has given us, both in who we are and what he's done for us and what he's called us to be, in our talents and our abilities, in all that we have and possess, our relationships, our families, our friends, our livelihoods. All of that is something that is gracious. It is something that comes to us from God. In 2 weeks from now, we're going to be having our drama production for the school down in the gym. How many of you have ever been to one of the drama productions here at St. Patrick? Okay, very good. And how many of you have never been to one of those? Okay, very good. If you haven't been, you don't know what you're missing. I don't call them school plays, right? Because they are so intricate and involved and beautiful, and there's over 100 kids involved in them, and the scenery and the lighting and the sound is all done by the kids and the families that help support them. They're amazing, and I encourage you, if you've not been to one, that you can get tickets through the school and you can come to one of those in 2 weeks from now. You will have hope in future generations, right? In the hope for the future of the world that will be buoyed up if you go to one of these drama productions. I also love them because they have this theme that runs through all of their practices, all of their productions, that the students learn a prayer that's part of that, and they incorporate that fully, and that has in it these lines, that the talents you have are your gift from God, and how you use those talents is your gift back to God. That the talents you have are your gift from God, and how you use those talents is your gift back to God. That is a realization of that first point, that through creation and salvation, God has given us sort of everything. But where we can get sometimes stuck in the process of that, and a theme for reflection is that we are called not to be buckets, but pipes. Okay, we're called to not to be buckets, but to be pipes. A lot of times we approach our own faith and we approach stewardship from an idea that we're a bucket, and we're there and we're receiving from God all of his gifts until we're full, and then once we're full, we allow some of that to splash out to others, right? And the other idea is that a pipe is something that things simply flow through to another direction, to a purpose that's other than the purpose of the pipe, right? And so we're called to be pipes, to allow everything to flow through us from God, to reach his purposes, not to be buckets that collect everything and just let a little bit splash out or pour over. Someone also told me last night, they said, maybe we're spilled buckets, right? So maybe we're spilled buckets. So that would be okay too, if you're a spilled bucket or a pipe. Now, in my own life, one of the times where I kind of came to this realization of not being a bucket but being a pipe came after I graduated from the Air Force Academy. And so I'd been involved for 4 years with a thing called Officer Christian Fellowship. And Officer Christian Fellowship had a mission to be of service to the military, in the military. And so I was on fire. I'd done some Bible studies as a freshman and a sophomore, and then got involved in leadership. And so when I graduated the academy, I saw it as almost a personal mission statement that I was called to be a missionary in the military to the military. Right? So I was called to be a missionary in the military to the military, and I went off to tech school. I went to San Angelo, Texas, and was involved with the OCF study there. And in tech school, I was an intelligence officer, and so we got to pick our assignments based on the assignments that came down. So there would be a drop of assignments, and you got to pick which one of those you were going to go to based upon your ranking in the class. And so I was ranked third in the class, so not number one. I know you're surprised. But I was ranked third in the class, and in prayer, I was thinking, this is a big deal. What's my next and first real assignment going to be in the Air Force? And I seemed to get a word from God, and I've shared this before, and I shared it with the parish council this past week, that Colorado Springs, where I'd gone to college, where my dad was, where I had a number of friends and connections to the local community, that was going to be on the list of assignments. So I didn't know if that was possible or true, so I started asking around, but I believed that God was telling me that this was going to happen. And so I started asking around and asked my instructors, and they said, your career field never has assignments to Colorado Springs. It's really impossible. It's never happened before. There are no assignments for your rank in your career field in Colorado Springs. And I said, I don't care what you say. I believe it's going to be there. So I started asking my classmates, the two that were ahead of me. And I said, if Colorado Springs comes up on the assignment list, and they said, it's not going to come up on the assignment. I know, but if it does, are you going to pick it? And they both said no, right? One of them was a couple that was in the OCF Bible study with me, so I kind of knew them and trusted that. And the other one I kind of believed because he had other plans and other things. And so I said, okay, great. So if this comes down, when it comes down, I wasn't saying if, when it comes down, nobody ahead of me is going to pick it. And then the assignment drop happened. And guess what? It was on the list. Colorado Springs, there was a fluke assignment to a contractor that needed an intelligence officer as part of a liaison with the intelligence community. So they needed a second lieutenant in that position to work with that company to be able to have that assignment, right? I was like, see? Right? And then we had a mock drop, or almost like a mock draft, right? And so we all got together so that people further down would kind of know what assignments were going to be open for them when it came to their turn. And so I was pretty confident. We went into that. And then my world was shattered because that wonderful couple that was in the Bible study with me said they were going to take Colorado Springs. And I said, God, why? Right? Why? If this was a miraculous thing that happened, that this was, or at least improbable to the nth degree, if this was such an improbable thing, and I was so convinced that that's where I was going to go, why is that not on there? And God guided me in reflecting on what was your mission. To be a missionary in the military, to the military, and I was treating that assignment like a bucket. I wanted to go back and be filled in for all the reasons that I wanted to fill in my bucket. And then I wanted to let some things spill over from that. And so I realized instead, God wanted me not to be a bucket, but to be a pipe. So I surrendered. And I called up the OCF offices, and I asked them, okay, we've got this assignment list, and I want to know, where do we need somebody in OCF or anywhere in the world on any of these assignments that is in greatest need for someone from OCF to be there, right? And they said, oh, that's not how we work this. You choose the assignment that is best for your career, and then we'll use you wherever you go. And I said, I'm done being a bucket, right? I'm past that. So where do you need me? And so they listed Panama or Seoul, Korea. And so neither one of those would have been on my list of places to go. I did some further discernment and prayer and ended up selecting going to Seoul, Korea for a year. And it was a great assignment, really stretched me in ways I couldn't believe. There were blessings beyond what I was anticipating. It was very important in my own journey and path of discerning priesthood. I got to be part of the Catholic community there in a lot of different ways, and really grew in my faith in ways that I couldn't have, and assisted doing a number of other things there in Korea. But it was about shifting that perspective, that it wasn't about what I was going to receive from it, but where was the need, and how could God flow through me to reach that need? As we go through this process of Lent and we go into the Stewardship Renewal process, we've been working very hard to try to bring down some of the barriers to engaging with that process. So we've now started the push pay. Many of you have heard about that. It was a way to donate and to give online. So now it's just as easy to give to the church as it is to order pizza, right? You can do that now. We also have an online form this year for the first time. So it'll take some tweaking and other things, but instead of filling out your paper form, you're able to do that online if you'd like and submit it online. But really the foundation is this idea of gratitude. This idea of gratitude for each of us, that all of creation and all of salvation has come to us, that it's a gift given to us. But we're not just supposed to accumulate it and allow a little bit to spill over. We're supposed to allow God to flow through us, that those gifts have another purpose and an intention for God's kingdom, for His love, for His mercy, for His healing, that through us God touches lives and accomplishes different missions, and His purpose is fulfilled as we cooperate with Him. And so I encourage you to take that perspective. First gratitude, and then God, how do you want to use my gifts and my talents? How do you want to use my energy and my time? How do you want to use all that I have been given, including my finances? How do you want to use all of that to affect your kingdom, to bring about your purpose, for you to flow through me, to be able to bring your love and your compassion, your healing and your glory even to this world? Because we're not called just to be buckets that accumulate, but to be pipes through which God flows.